What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. So it is coming. The infrastructure package is coming. We are going to see the finalized legislative text of these bills very soon. Within the next couple of weeks, we should have the text of both the bipartisan infrastructure bill and the budget reconciliation bill, which is the Democrat-only American Families Plan. That is the social infrastructure package, or the stimulus package as many of us are calling it. What we know right now is that next week, in a week from today, we should be getting the child tax credit payments from the IRS. This is actually big. This is something that many lawmakers have been applauding for a little while. Mainly Democrats saying that we are giving you an additional stimulus check. It's going to be a monthly recurring payment of up to $300 per month for people with children. That is good. The problem is, what if you do not have children? Well, I'm going to address that in just a minute. First, I want to talk about unemployment. What we are hearing as of today is the unemployment rate, even though they say it's 5.9%, which isn't terrible, it's much better than it was last year. However, according to recent reports, the unemployment rate for lower income earners, these are people earning less than $30,000 per year. This is closer to 20%. So yes, 1 out of every 5 low-income earners, okay? This is 1 out of every 5. This is not great. They are unemployed. That is not great, okay? So what you need to keep in mind, though, is this data is heavily skewed, and it doesn't include millions of people. This information that I'm giving you, it does not include people that are retired, they just left the workforce, or maybe they're actually paid under the table. This is a big issue, and many people were paid under the table in the past. And so right now, we aren't seeing the reports of, oh, well, these people that were potentially being paid under the table, or roughly this percentage, are still unemployed, don't have a job. We don't know those figures. So even though they are saying it's 5.9%, some studies are actually saying it's much higher. So again, we don't know those figures, but that is a huge issue. What we do know is right now there's millions of jobs still available here in the United States, but the numbers are not coming back as quickly. The people are not going to find these jobs. They're not applying for all these different positions, and they're not actually being hired on as quickly as some people predicted. And this is something that I've been saying for a couple of months now, is that even though the jobs are there, as an employer, I know for a fact for my businesses, I'm not going to hire on all the people that I used to have, because over this past year, I've figured out ways to optimize my business, to be more effective, to actually spend less on the business, but get the exact same amount of stuff done. And it's just being a little bit more efficient, a lot more effective, which means I'm more profitable. That is what a business is here to do, is to turn a profit. Well, this is something that many businesses have already said. They are not going to hire back all the people that they let go in the beginning, which is causing more and more issues. What we do know is that this is also giving more lawmakers an additional reason to push for more stimulus, whether it's a stimulus check, larger, or extending the unemployment benefits, this is also something that, according to the White House, or according to White House aides, they are saying that the Biden administration is content with letting unemployment just simply expire. So we'll see what happens there. But what we do know is that according to the US Census, they are actually giving us more insights as to what we are going through at this time. What we know is that it is stating that roughly 20% of Americans are struggling to just keep food on the table. And I bring this up because, well, what are we fighting for? We're fighting for infrastructure. Well, is food, is that considered infrastructure? Is that considered social infrastructure? Right? We're hearing about college, we're hearing about elder care, child care, we're hearing about, stimulus checks, right? We're hearing Medicare, all these different things, which is great. We need all those things. But what about food? Food insecurity. That's a big issue. And what we are hearing is that a lot of people do not have food. They do not have enough food in their home. We also know about 11.5 million Americans are still behind on rent. And much of these people are having a hard time just getting assistance through the SNAP benefit program and through the rental assistance agencies. They are saying it is just too difficult, so they don't even try. But the stat that I just read you, okay, and this is something that's very scary. 11.5 million Americans, a million renters, are behind on rent. Well, about 80% of those people, or roughly 9.2 million renters that are currently behind on rent, well, they don't have children that live in their home. They don't have children, their children have grown, maybe they never have had children, but they do not qualify for the child tax credit payments. Well, what we've been hearing from many lawmakers is that once these child tax credit payments come out, this is essentially going to help renters pay back some of their rent. Well, this is not the case. When only 20% of those 11.5 million renters will be able to take some of that money and pay off rent? No, the other 80%, 9.2 million people, 9.2 million households will not be able to do this because they're not going to get a penny of the child tax credit payments. That's a huge issue. So this means those lawmakers who are saying that the child tax credit payments are going to help, well, they're wrong, because the money is not going to go to some of those people, to roughly 9.2 million households. That's a lot. So that means we could potentially see an eviction crisis. We could potentially see, homelessness crisis, a food crisis. That's already something that we're seeing. Nutrition, that's a big, big issue. But the hardest part about all this is that right now, lawmakers are just discussing children, families, parents, right? That's who they're discussing. But they're not bringing up people that receive Social Security. And people on Social Security are probably not going to get a child tax credit payment. You can, if you do collect Social Security benefits, you can get a child tax credit payment if you are caring for a child, if they're on your tax return. But in most cases, that's not going to happen. So they are also saying that those on a fixed income are going to continue to struggle because they won't be getting any additional support either. And for those that are losing unemployment benefits, well, you're pretty much out of luck as well. We do know some states and some residents are fighting their state and trying to sue simply to get the unemployment benefits extended. Instead of canceled in those 25 Republican states, they're actually trying to get them extended all the way to September 6th. Some states are having a little bit of luck, and judges are overturning that ruling and allowing or pretty much requiring the state to extend payments. The problem is it's not happening everywhere. It's just happening in a couple of states. So that's a huge issue. Now, here's something I want to bring to your attention. In a recent study, roughly 66 million Americans are actually saying they are living paycheck to paycheck. Now, why do I bring this up? First off, I absolutely hate bringing this up. Okay, I hate bringing this up for one main reason. I used to live paycheck to paycheck when I was younger, and it was a struggle. It was a struggle because you never know where your next meal is coming from. What if your check bounces and you don't have the money to pay for, let's say, a car, your rent, medication that you need, or put gas in the car, right? That's always a big issue. So this is tough for me. But what we are hearing is that right now, paychecks, okay, millions of Americans, 66 million Americans live paycheck to paycheck. The problem is the paychecks are not increasing. The paychecks are staying roughly the same, maybe moving up and down just a little bit, but they're pretty much staying the same. They're stagnant, right? The problem is prices for food, gas, products, services, everything is increasing, and that's becoming a huge issue. Some are saying that this is a recipe for disaster when all prices of food and different products increases, but your income stays the same or actually goes down because you are working less hours. So again, that's another huge issue. But this is also one of the reasons why lawmakers at this time are pushing for a large Democrat-only spending bill. They say that this needs to be big and bold, and it's not only good for the economy, but this is what the American people want. This is why the American people voted Democrat. Now, I don't know about you. Okay, I don't know about you. It doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or a Republican. But the issue is the same for every single person. if your expenses are increasing but your income is actually going down, right? So more expenses, less income. That creates a big gap, and many people at this time are trying to fill that gap and fill that void. They're supplementing their income with credit cards. That is a big issue. And in addition to that, many people are not just supplementing their income with credit cards, because some people can't get credit cards, but what's the next thing they do? They go and get a payday loan, which means they are going to spend a lot more money to get money, or their money, a little bit early. And that's going to create a huge issue for them, especially in the future. So right now, some experts are very worried as to where we go from here. But some say, will we see an additional stimulus check? Some experts say it's quite possible, but it will most likely not be called a stimulus check. This is something that I've been saying for a while as well. Will we see social infrastructure pass? Many say yes, this is most likely going to be the case, but the big issue is, will the bipartisan infrastructure pass as well? Some say this is questionable at this point because Republicans might actually delay the entire package in order to see the budget reconciliation bill, which will be that Democrat-only plan. If the bipartisan bill gets delayed, chances are moderates like Senator Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema would actually try to pull the budget reconciliation bill back. Instead of seeing a $4 or possibly $6 trillion bill, it would be something closer to $1 to $2 trillion as a Democrat-only bill. So we will see what happens there. But if this is the case, I don't think a lot of Democrats would even go for this. I think they would simply wait and try to get more Democrats on board with a bigger, bolder, and more comprehensive bill. But again, we will see what goes on there in the future. Here's what we do know. Today, Nancy Pelosi, she actually spoke with Adi Barkan about Medicare and whether or not she supports this. And when Adi asked if she supports expanding Medicare, this is what Nancy Pelosi had to say. Now, it's not an exact quote, but she said yes, she supports it, she has supported it. This is exactly why H.R. 3 was passed in the House last year. However, it wasn't passed in the Senate. So, Nancy Pelosi wants to get H.R. 3 passed both in the House and the Senate. You're probably wondering, well, what's H.R. 3? H.R. 3 simply allows for Medicare to go and pretty much negotiate prescription drug prices. Now, there's a process behind this. And according to Nancy Pelosi and other lawmakers as well, the process is actually pretty simple. The House plans on going and have Medicare negotiate prices, right? They're going to negotiate the prices with these prescription drug companies to lower their prices. If they can lower their prices, but yet they have the same amount of money, what happens is there's a savings there. That savings can then be used to go and provide for things like dental, vision, and hearing. And so that's where essentially Democrats are looking to expand Medicare, not by bringing in more money, not by taxing the rich. And this is what Senator Bernie Sanders has been saying all along, is let's tax the rich so that we can go and get dental, vision, and hearing care for our elderly. Well, essentially what Nancy Pelosi is saying and other lawmakers are saying is no, we don't need to tax the rich because there's going to be a savings between the prescription drug costs now versus when we negotiate, where there'll be that savings can then go and fund vision, dental, and hearing. So again, this is just another way, another workaround, but it's something that needs to be done. I think this is incredible. If this can be done, if dental, vision, and hearing can be included into Medicare, and even lowering the age from 65 down to 60, this can all be done just by negotiating with prescription drug manufacturers. I think that's something that we have to do. But let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Now, I want to bring this up because right now, tens of millions of Americans rely on Medicare for health insurance. And without Medicare, many would be without any option. They wouldn't have an option. They'd have no health care. And this is one of the most popular pieces of legislation at this time. And again, lawmakers are fighting on, climate change. That's pretty popular, but it's not the top. They are fighting on police reform, but that's not something that we're going to see in the infrastructure package. But it is very important. Where they're fighting on citizenship and things like that. Well, that's not going to be in this package either. Some say it will, and they will not vote for it if it isn't included, but others say that this is not the time or place to have it. So we will see what happens there. But what we do know is Democrats have been pretty much outgoing and outspoken about they want to pass popular pieces of legislation. Well, last package in the American Rescue Plan, the $1,400 stimulus checks were the most popular piece of legislation. That's one of the reasons why they were included. Well, what I can tell you right now is millions of voters applauded Democrats for passing the last stimulus package, and millions more would applaud Democrats again if they pass more popular pieces of legislation. Well, what are the most popular pieces of legislation? At this point, Medicare is the big one. Okay, Medicare is the big one at this point. The problem that we're actually facing at this time is Medicare is like the one and only bill that is really popular amongst the American people. We know stimulus checks are still popular. The problem is they're not included into the infrastructure package at this time. So until they get included, until we see a bigger push for them, right now we don't know. But I expect over the next few weeks, okay, over the next 3 weeks, so by the end of July, I expect we will get more of a push for stimulus checks. If we don't, we will see a bigger push for some other form of stimulus. Maybe it's not a check. Like I stated earlier this morning, we're starting to get kind of these rumors and these reports of a stimulus credit, where it's essentially a stimulus check, but it's paid at the end of the year. However, you can actually opt to get it sooner as payments, kind of like the child tax credit payments. So it's just getting crazy at this point, but many say that Democrats are going to have to do more if they want to win back the House and the Senate in the upcoming midterm elections. What we do know is that at this time, Mitch McConnell is simply just waiting by. Mitch McConnell stated that I don't want to say he actually stated, okay, because he didn't come out and word for word say this, but in a way, Mitch McConnell is simply standing by, waiting for Democrats to go too big, too bold, and cause inflation. If they do, Mitch McConnell and Republicans would be right there saying, see, I told you, Democrats were going to do this. This is the Biden administration. This is why Democrats should not be in power. Again, I'm not trying to push Democrats. I'm not trying to bash Democrats or Republicans, because this is exactly what Nancy Pelosi did when former President Donald Trump was in office. She simply had delay tactic after delay tactic, said, oh, well, look, we tried to pass this. You didn't want to pass it, so it's your fault. Well, that's essentially what Republicans and Mitch McConnell are doing now, is saying, oh, well, you have the power. You don't want to pass it, so it's your fault. So again, it's just going to be pointing fingers and more political games. But while many say Mitch McConnell is never going to let President Biden pass any meaningful legislation, Mitch McConnell had this to say today. And he said, and I quote, "If I become the majority leader again, it's not for stopping everything. It's for stopping the worst. It's for stopping things that fundamentally push the country into a direction that at least my party feels is not a good idea for the country." So Mitch McConnell is simply saying that even if he becomes Senate Majority Leader again, which many experts do predict that Republicans will win back the Senate during the midterm elections, if this happens, Mitch McConnell is simply saying he's just going to stop the worst. He's not going to stop everything. So that's actually pretty good news. But at the same time, stopping just the worst, what his party feels is not the right direction for the country, is essentially the same thing as saying, well, we're not going to pass what Democrats want because, well, that's not how we believe. So we'll see what happens there. But what I can tell you is we are seeing movement. It is coming. The infrastructure package is coming in probably about 14 days. We should see this actually on the 19th. So about a week and a half, something like that. So we're about 11 days away. So not this coming Monday, but the Monday after that, We will hopefully have more information. In about 2 weeks, we should have a lot more information from these committees as to whether or not they finalize the legislative text of the bipartisan bill and the budget reconciliation. If they do, that is great because we need answers. Congress is going to go back on recess. They are currently on recess, but when they come back, they will have like a 2-week period where they can start working on these bills, hopefully get something done, hopefully give the American people what they need, some additional relief, and provide some form of infrastructure. But we will see. But again, as always, as I know more, I promise I'll fill you in on all the latest news and updates. Just want to thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your Thursday afternoon and Thursday evening. If you have any questions whatsoever, please ask your questions down in the comment section below. Again, thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.